and gentlemen, ready to roll. We're going to go ahead and reconvene the meeting at 7 o'clock. Okay, Ms. Mayfield, can we get a roll call of the board?
Absolutely. President Aguilar.
Present.
Vice President Oshinsky.
Present.
Board Clerk Tate will be returning shortly. Trustee Gonzalez.
Present.
Trustee Prola will be reporting shortly. Trustee Sheridan.
Present.
Trustee Toledo. Student Board Member Amaya Proctor.
Present.
All board members present.
All right, thank you very much, Ms. Mayfield. Next is a report on closed session. The Board of Education took the following actions in closed session in accordance with Government Code Section 54957B and Government Code Section 54957.6 and Section 54956.9D. 1, to approve the release of a classified employee effective immediately by a 7-0 vote. The item was moved by Trustee Prola and seconded by Trustee Gonzalez. Okay, now into the Pledge of Allegiance. Trustee Gonzalez, would you lead us in the pledge? Thank you very much. Next, tonight, I will have Trustee Sheridan read our mission statement.
The mission of Sandlander Unified School District is to educate students to achieve academic excellence in order to become confident, collaborative, and engaged citizens in a community rich in heritage and diverse in culture, where we value our traditions and embrace innovation.
Thank you very much. Moving on to the equity statement as read by Trustee Tate.
The Board of Trustees believes that the diversity that exists among the district's community of students, staff, parents, guardians, and community members are integral to the district's vision, mission, and goals. Addressing the needs of the most marginalized learners requires recognition of the inherent value of diversity and acknowledgement that educational excellence requires a commitment to equity and the opportunities provided to students and the resulting outcomes.
Thank you very much. Moving into the approval of the agenda. Can I get a motion?
I'll second.
All right, Trustee Oshinsky has moved and Trustee Gonzalez has seconded. Board, please vote. All right, the agenda has moved 7-0. We'll go ahead and move right into our legal statement of the night. Members of the audience who wish to address the board are asked to complete the yellow card available at the entrance and submit it to the board's executive assistant. Speakers who have completed the card will be called when the item is reached on the agenda or for non-agenda items during the public testimony. Cards are to be turned in before the item is reached on the agenda. Please note that the meeting is being recorded. State law prohibits the Board of Education from taking any action on or discussing items that are not on the posted agenda except to A, briefly respond to statements made or questions posed by the public in attendance, B, ask questions for clarification, C, provide a reference to a staff member or other resource for factual information in response to the inquiry, or D, ask a staff member to report back on the matter at the next meeting and or put it on a future agenda. Government Code 54954.2. Okay, and then we received one public comment over email. The public comment was from Starla Colburn, a teacher over at Bancroft Middle School, and that public comment is being addressed. So I'm going to go ahead and call on public comment cards tonight after that. Okay. Okay, so first in the queue for public comment tonight, David D'Antonio. And we will time at 3 minutes.
Great. I have 3 minute and 2 minute statements, so great. Thanks very much. And at the August 3rd school board meeting 6 weeks ago, the board passed a change to AR 5121 regarding grades and evaluation. There was no discussion on it at that meeting. The vote was 7-0. It seemed like a routine matter. It is not a routine matter, and I wonder if you as a board were fully informed of its ramifications. The key change you approved called for, quote, description of equivalent intervals for grade books, regardless of percent or rubric grading. That's a lot of verbiage, but let me make it comprehensible. 3 weeks ago, secondary teachers at all 4 schools, not just Bancroft, where I'm in my 32nd year teaching history, saw that our district online grade books had been recalibrated to roughly the following categories. 80 to 100% is an A, 60 to 80% a B, 40 to 60% a C, 20 to 40% a D, and 20% or lower an F. The desire, and make no mistake, it is a desire to get away from the traditional grading percentages, is a mistake. It lowers expectations, I believe, for our students and creates a less challenging education. This is already manifest in other ways. Honors English is no longer offered for freshmen at the high school. Honors Science is no longer offered for freshmen at the high school. The summer requirements for upper grade honors English classes have steadily eroded over the years. AR 5121 is the end result of the Grading for Equity program that the district has spent enormous amounts of money on. Here is just one example from Grading for Equity. If a student does not turn in an assignment, he can still receive 50% or is encouraged to receive 50% for that assignment. I would love such kindness from the bank to whom I make my mortgage payments. I pay nothing and they give me credit for paying half. But it is exactly such nonsense that is being embedded into our grading systems and propagated as fairness. When a 0 equals 50%, students will suffer. They will leave school with an inflated sense of their performance as they head to college or into the workforce. I began my comments stating that I believe you are unaware of the ramifications of your vote. My hope now is that you will inquire and learn about what was given to teachers a few weeks ago. When you inquire, you will no doubt learn more about a 5-point rubric, which I believe is just another way of obscuring the performances of our students and being less than transparent with families. At the August 23rd board meeting, the following goal was stated: to engage families, particularly regarding academic awareness. I believe we are doing the opposite of promoting that. If after delving into this cause, you still think such a grading rubric is a good thing, then please proudly pronounce it to families and to the media. I question whether they would share your appreciation. Thank you.
Thank you. Next in the queue is Darlene Evans.
I live at 13495 Bancroft Avenue. I am between East 14th Street and Bancroft Avenue, next to the high school. I suggested today to Richard Richardson, the principal of the high school, that he contact the superintendent of schools for the following issues. The American Indian Health Center 1 year ago, and I think it was caused by PG&E, having talked to their workers, has a plywood about 4x6 over the coveted hole. It was by Rocky sent emails to the school department, perhaps without a picture. What is the problem is it is vertical and not horizontal. It is not covering the pipe. And one time the plywood was moved. It is 1 year in the happening. I don't know who could put it back properly, but I do know I talked to 2 public work people and they said 5 sections we have. 1 has 1 person in 1 department, 3 in a department that used to have 8 people. So I think by doing it to the superintendent of schools, he would be able to be on a level that would be able to get this solved. Number 2 is a fire department code connection. It is red. It has 2 holes in it to connect hoses to fight fires at the high school. It has been leaking for 2 months. The bird's eye grass that can grow 6 feet high is now about 3 feet high. I showed an example of that to Richard Richardson today. that is an issue probably because it wasn't turned off completely. There are water problems with the plumbing systems at Wood Chase Park and at Metro Park where I live. We have replaced our sewers on East 14th Street as well as Bancroft. That I talked to the female person who's responsible for prevention of fire face to face. She wanted my phone number. And I said, good luck, lady. I haven't found my cell phone. We have a 2-year grant for our seniors, probably $50,000 to get us on the internet and such. We have litter problems from your high school severely, and we have severe homeless issues. Let's just say those vodka bottles, there's 50 of them in a Juniper. We have police department that don't seem to be at the red sign for police only at Palma Plaza. There is a vacant lot that is owned and is unknown to many people that the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints owns the vacant lot on East 14th Street. It is neutral. The no pickup signs that are at 7-Eleven, the other places, what if it was a neutral place and it was paved over Surly Seal so that the weeds wouldn't be there? The people don't know because there is not by the assessor's office a phone number in another state to contact the people. But
Darlene, your
your
time is
needs to
up.
be improved and my time is up.
Thank you.
The fire department issue needs to be solved in 30 days.
Thank you very much. Okay, and I have no further cards up here, so that closes public comment for tonight. We're going to move right into the school reports. I'm going to go ahead and start with Lincoln High School. Principal Steinecke.
Good evening, trustees. Dr. Mike. How you guys doing? Good. Well, thank you for allowing me to come share a little bit about what's going on at Lincoln and our virtual academy. As I like to do, I like to address the strategic plan. So with our first goal of engage, educate, and empower our students, we have, excuse me, we are starting to launch our before and after school program. So we have boxing 2 days a week after school. We have a cooking program on Tuesdays. We just started our basketball club, and we're also looking to start a Life After Lincoln club, where students are able to explore options outside of Lincoln, in addition to what we do during the school day, of course. And we also have are participating in a Kaiser virtual assembly called Ghosted, which is able to provide an interactive virtual program that inspires students to engage in supportive conversations about their emotional well-being and provides them with strategies to build resilience. And we'll be doing this on Thursday and Friday. As for educational equity, we have our MC3 program, our third year of our pre-apprenticeship program. Looking forward to making sure that that program serves our students. And we also have our college and career coordinator, job and internship coordinator that are on site 1 day a week, and they're starting to meet with students and give presentations in classrooms. Our employee engagement, we shifted a little bit of how our work gets done at Lincoln. So we formed study groups for our teachers, and the study groups, one group works on advisory lessons, one group works on engagement strategies, and another one works on school-wide activities. So it's a good focus for our staff. And also following on our Ghosted virtual assembly, Kaiser will also come in October and give a workshop on trauma-informed practices with our staff. For valuing diversity, we're welcoming families with personal tours as they come in. We're lucky to be a small school, so we're able to greet each family and give them a personal tour and make those phone calls. Our goal for September, October is to make sure we connect with each of our families, review graduation plans, and make sure that they feel supported. We're actively recruiting for our school site council and ELAC, which will be at the end of the month. For environmental and technology equity, We're fortunate that our new campus is soon to be started. So we're looking forward to that process and building a new campus to bring more opportunities for Lincoln. And we also were able to spend about the first 2 weeks of school making sure students were able to access their accounts. Over summer, they seem to forget how to log into their Gmails and Schoology. So we're able to redo that. And we're rolling out the home Chromebooks and hotspots as needed once they become available. I also get to tell you about Virtual Academy. We're in full swing with students, teachers meeting with students and families. It's great with that, the virtual option that the families are also there for meetings. So we're able to connect those resources. Back to school night for elementary was last week. Secondary back to school night will be in 2 weeks, October 29th, and arranging materials pickup for the end of the month for our elementary school program. So we're purchasing the supplies, creating the baskets or bags so that students will have those hands-on projects at home. Lastly, we're looking to expand opportunities for our students to engage more hands-on activities at home and have a little bit more creative and flexible curriculum for them. So that concludes my presentation. Questions?
Thank you. I'm looking in the queue, trustees, starting with trustee Prola. Oh, okay. Then we move over to trustee Tate.
Thank you, Mr. Steinke, for your presentation. I am always impressed with what you're doing in Lincoln and being a small school. I'm just happy for all the options for our students. So what I wanted to ask is, how is enrollment for the in-person versus the virtual?
Or enrollment at Lincoln?
Yes.
We're about 145, 150, which is a little bit more than where we were last year. And then enrollment for SLVA, we're full at the high school, middle school. We have about 22 and we have space for 30. And then at the elementary, about 46.
Yeah.
And we have room for up to 60 at the elementary.
So mostly I was wondering about the Lincoln with the virtual academy and the in-person.
Yeah, the virtual academy is serving K-12.
Mhm.
And we're pulling from San Leandro High, Muir, Bancroft, and the elementary schools.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
All right, next trustee Gonzalez.
Yeah, I want to apologize. I completely forgot that the virtual academy was having back to school night when I was attending all the other elementary schools. And so was there any sort of recorded presentation for the back to school night for the virtual academy?
There was.
And can we get the link to that?
Yeah.
So
Perfect.
So
yeah.
yes, and now I'll keep it that we have another elementary school to attend.
Exactly. I don't want to say it crept up on me, but it did creep up on me. So yeah, so you will know when the secondary is.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Mr.
Thank you, guys.
Steineke.
Have a good evening.
Okay, next up, San Leandro High, Drs. Richardson.
Good evening, everyone. Good to see you.
Happy Tuesday.
I do want to, before I say good evening, I'm excited to see you all. Great job, Mr. Steineke. You're doing excellent work. It's great to be your colleague. Good evening, Board of Trustees. Good evening, Dr. McLaughlin and our wonderful cabinet. I have a 3-minute update, and Dr. Aro will add to the update as well. So with that being said, I'm telling you, the first weeks of school have been amazing. Our students were so collaborative and cooperative through the space around working around the construction. And for that 2 weeks, the students did an excellent job. And through that time, the students, the energy from our teachers, our students, the positive energy and the calm energy as well was just so refreshing. And then making sure our security and our office staff are all working together to serve our students and being present for our students in the beginning days. Now the quad, I want to just stop and just thank not only our city voters, residents, and community for putting our kids first. The bonds measuring the funds and making sure that that space was a space for our students. I saw a student, we were walking when the second day of the grand opening, had his backpack on. He says, "Wow, Dr. Reed, I feel like I'm on a college campus." So it was deep for him to the energy that he gave me, and then the pride, and then them just taking care of their school. They deserve it. So thank you all. Thank you, Dr. McLaughlin and our cabinet of just working and making sure we're supporting our schools and all our sites. So it's great work, everyone. So I'm proud of that. Couple of updates going into in a couple of weeks, like Mr. Steineke said, back to school night. Ours is on the 22nd. Give you an opportunity to see the quad. I think you'll feel the college atmosphere in that space, but that's even prior to that. The students do well, and it does feel like an atmosphere where students are scholars and walking through that space as at their home at San Leandro High. But I would like to say this is our first back to school night since 2019, the in-person back to school night since 2019. So we're excited with that. And a couple of things I want to add in terms of some areas of focus in terms of our learning community. One of the things that I wanted to focus on is our school culture and climate. We have our teachers are leading our faculty meetings and talking, and we have a new focus around who we are and our identity of how we're supporting our students, and it's SLHS Cares. And really focusing on how we are focused on keeping our students focused in class, but not just focused in class, but the SEL work, and making sure when our students, not only equity for grading, for how are we being engaging with our students. I know Dr. Aro wants to add to this, but it's very important that our students are heard. So we're really focusing on throughout the staff and making sure we have student voice. One of the things I wanted to highlight in our first faculty meeting, we're opening up with student voice. And we had a student, what was amazing, was inspiring, talking about Tourette's and educating the staff how it feels to have Tourette syndrome. And one of the things that touched my heart and me as a lifelong learner, how are we as teachers being intentional about learning about our students? So we as an admin team and faculty said, when we open up, we're going to open up with student voice. So that was one of the things that I wanted to celebrate in this board report out. And before you go, Dr. Ari, I said I was going to be 3 minutes. I have one more important update. And one of the things that I just wanted to add to all of you, our cabinet, is thank you. And it's going to be a great year. I'm looking forward to the upcoming gala as well. And we can't wait to reunite and catch up. So thank you. That is my portion of the board report, and go for it, Dr. Aro.
Oh, thank you, Dr. Thank you, Dr. Reed. My pleasure. You did a great job, by the way.
I hope so.
Board of Trustees, good to see you. Miss you all. Great to be back in person. Our amazing student board member, future Dr. Proctor, and our board president, thank you, and our Dr. McLaughlin, and our amazing cabinet as well. So first of all, good evening again. It's going to be, like Dr. Ari said, we're so excited. It's going to be a phenomenal year. It's going to be an epic year. And I want to share with something that we're being more intentional around student voice. First of all, athletics are going well. Our marching band, Rick Richards will say, keep music rocking. So our music band is doing well. Our orchestra, we have two amazing music leaders, an orchestra and band. And of course, Mrs. Dent, our notables and choir teacher. So kudos to our music program and our VAPA program and our athletic programs going well. But our special project this year, along with our work and our initiative around our SLHS Ambassador Project, which is comprised of all of our scholars, but we have selected 25 11th grade scholars and 25 12th grade scholars that will be going to, visiting all 9th and 10th grade English classes to talk about how they navigated high school up this far. And it's just so amazing. And they're gonna talk about not only the importance of how they've endured the challenges of coming back in person, but how to find mental health resources, or how they deal with their mental health challenges and social and emotional well-being, and where to go when you need support, but also how to address destructive language and hate language. And also how to use positive language. And to hear it from your peers is even more powerful. When you're hearing it from your principals and your teachers and your counselors, it's even more powerful hearing from our scholars and their peers. So we're excited about that. That's going to launch September 21st. The SLHS Ambassador Project Assembly will be held in the AEC during 5th period. And that's where the workshops and the first part of the training will be starting around how they're going to navigate through those classes, all ninth and 10th grade classes. And the overarching goal is for every scholar of all diaspora of San Leandro High to feel that they're ambassadors at San Leandro High. So we're excited about that work. But also another thing that we wanted to highlight is around there's going to be ambassador headquarters where our TAs are going to be used more effectively in the offices, attendance office, principal office, assistant principal's office, college and career center, and the counseling office. All those TAs are selected as ambassadors. We have one who's sitting on the board. And we're excited about the work, and our students and parents are going to help us grow that project because their voice and input are going to be added to how we're going to navigate through this amazing epic year. And homecoming is coming in October. Our amazing leadership class and scholars are planning for October 7th, which is the homecoming game against Logan. And then the homecoming dance will be on the 7th or 14th. There's still a vote happening. I say after the football game on that Saturday. So I think Dr. Reese volunteered to take that weekend. And that concludes our update. Any questions?
Okay, Trustee Tate.
So thank you both for your presentation. I'm happy to know that everything is going well at the high school, and you guys are doing an amazing job, and I'm looking forward to participating in some of the activities. So thank you.
I'm excited.
Trustee Oshinsky.
It's great to see both of you. Welcome back. I just want to make a quick comment. I appreciate that you lead with student voice. After all, that's the reason we are all here. So I really appreciate you doing that. So thank you.
Thank you, Pete. Thank you.
Trustee Gonzalez.
I was going to say the same thing. I appreciate you leading with student voice because that is the reason we're all here. And so thank you for that. I also want to say I love the idea of the ambassador program and of using the TAs and giving them a little more elevation because TAs have done an amazing amount of work at our high school. And I think giving them a role as ambassadors along with the TA is also a fabulous idea. So thank you so much for all you do. I'm looking forward to see the quad in person and not just on a video. And so thank you.
Give you a tour.
Okay, and then my comment is, yeah, ditto 3 times over. Thank you for leading with student voice. Y'all have known me for some years, and student voice is absolutely a passion area of mine. So thank you for bringing that to your faculty and to the site. And I think with that, we wish you a good evening, gentlemen.
Thank you. Talk to you soon. Talk to you soon. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, next up, bond report, Director Aaron Kerrigan. Promotion.
I did just graduate. Well, good evening, board members and Dr. McLaughlin. I wanted to go through and give my presentation tonight. Let's see. So as you can see here, I think video was mentioned about the quad there at the high school as. Oh, no. Where's it at? You got it? There it is. So anyway, yeah, it was a pretty smooth transition, pretty good project. We got a majority of it done during the summertime with a little bit left to do during the school year. As you can see from this video, there's dirt patches around the circular area. And within the next week or so, we should be getting artificial turf installed there. And that will complete that project. So I tweaked the current project timeline a little bit from last month to reflect some of the things that we got done a little bit earlier than anticipated, and some of the things that did shift a little bit. But for the most part, it is as we projected it to be from a few months ago. The one thing that I wanted to mention on here tonight is the Lincoln campus. And I don't have a slide for that because there's not a lot to show. But they did start on it this week. They've got all the temporary fencing up. They have a lot of their staging area done. And they started today. As a matter of fact, they were pulling out the old fence that's around the soccer field. And so I just want to give you an update on that campus. And as it progresses, I'll have more pictures for you in the future. And as you can see, here's a still of the quad area. And like I said, I think it looks pretty good as well. Here is the Muir modular buildings. You can see from this photo that they're in the process of doing all of the lath on the building, getting ready for stucco. On the inside, on that day when I went over there to take that picture, they were doing the HVAC and working on doing the rough in of a lot of the duct work there for the HVAC. Here, I know I've reported this previously, but their modular Bancroft are complete and they're occupied now. The things that were lacking for the Bancroft modulars, one of which is water. We're still waiting on that. Good news is that East Bay Mud started this week on their meter installations and anticipated to be done by the end of the week, which means that we can go ahead and start our plantings. We've been holding off because we didn't want to plant without water. And we'll be off of fire watch and they'll have all their water to their rooms and the restrooms will be open by that time as well. Here it is, the entryway at Bancroft. Just wanted to give you kind of a completed view. I don't know that you really got to see that before. It was really rough, the last few photos that I've shown you. You can see on the lower left hand the logo for the Broncos. And then this is looking down Estadio, I believe. And you can see the new flagpole and the new ramps leading up to making it a compliant, proper entranceway now. Here is the field. They are working, as a matter of fact, they started yesterday on the track. They put up their forms yesterday. All the deliveries of the materials for the track were brought to the site. And we anticipate by the end of the month that that rubberized track will be completed. We'll probably need a few more days after that just to have some cure time before we allow students on that. We want to make sure it gets good and solid before we do that. And then you can see in the lower left-hand corner, this was the original plaque and rock from the previous field that used to be there. So we wanted to make sure we maintained that and highlighted it in the new landscape areas around the field and around the basketball courts. Shade structures. This shade structure at McKinley is substantially complete. The only thing that's lacking is the furniture that goes in it. And that is, I believe, due sometime this week. And we will be working with the contractor to assemble and install that as soon as it arrives. And then finally, this is the Bancroft basketball courts, all completed with the new basketball hoops, new standards. And thank you. Looking for any questions or feedback.
All right, I'm going to start off with Dr. Mike.
Aaron, can you talk a little bit about the looking into shade structure pieces or whatever at the quad at the high school? Because I know there's a lot of questions about that.
Yeah, it came to my attention recently that that's something that, you know, the trees at the moment don't provide enough shade. So they're going to need a few more years before they do. So in the meantime, I've been looking at or looking into different types of shade structures. The good thing is how we were able to get the shade structures completed at the rest of the elementary sites so rapidly is that DSA is allowing for fast track of these shade structures. So we think we can still do something under the DSA bulletin that allows for that. And so I am in the process of looking at a variety of different ones that could work for that area. And then we'll go ahead and see what it would take to make that happen for the students there at the high school.
Thank you. Trustee Tate.
So the pictures look beautiful. I really like the updates, and I'm just happy that the bond money is being spent and that we're adding this to the learning environment. So thank you.
Well, thank you very much. Yeah, it's nice to see these projects come and to fruition and see, you know, the fruits of our labor. And it's a long process, but when we finally unveil it, you know, we're something to be really, really proud of. So thank you very much.
Next is Trustee Oshinsky.
Thank you for your presentation. First a comment, then a question. So my first comment is I'm happy to see the benches made it from Spain.
Never lived that one down.
I know, they're beautiful. And then second, has there been any comment about moving the basketball court from Bancroft from on the street to back to the residential area at all? You know what I mean? You moved it closer to the residences back there versus being on the street in terms of noise or.
No, they're, I think,
Mhm.
they're already pushed back. They're by the drop off.
There, okay.
Yeah, so they're not on the street anymore. So the drop off pickup went in and we pushed them in, but they didn't lose any course.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, good. Thank you.
Trustee Prola.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask if I wanted to go over like to Bancroft and see the whatever was going on. Would it be a problem if I go into the office and ask them to show me around, or can I just go walk around? I don't.
I would check in for sure. But you know, anytime you want, Ms. Prola, I'm happy to take you over there and show you all the stuff that we've done. So just
That'd be
contact
great,
me.
yeah. It's
Or
it's
call
fun
me,
to look
Diane,
at.
or call me
pictures.
Diane, I'll take you over there. Or call me, I'll take you over there.
Okay, very
All
good.
right.
I mean, it's fun to look at it on pictures, but I really like to see it
Yeah,
too.
for sure.
Thank you.
Trustee Gonzalez.
Yes, thank you for all the work. It's been a rough few years with lots and lots of wonderful, beautiful projects. And so we thank you for all your work. So it looks like the landscaping at Bancroft is not going to be in for the back to school. And so is it possible to have a nice picture in the as you enter the school of what that's supposed to look like when the landscaping does get in?
I've got a rendition and I
It
think.
doesn't have to be beautiful or perfect, just
Yeah.
something so that they know there's plants coming. and
Yeah, I
that they're
believe we
just
have
not there for
something that we can
night.
show the front of the school at least.
Yep.
Of what that is anticipated to look like.
Yeah, because right now it looks very bare and plain, and I keep getting lots of questions, what's happening? And it's like, the plants aren't in because the irrigation isn't in, and back to school night is this week, right? So it'd just be nice to have something there for parents to see.
Yeah, okay, I can certainly work on getting a poster board or something like that.
You also have the renderings for the new Lincoln campus at the back to school night over at Steineke's for anybody that hasn't seen it.
Yeah. We can
Because
certainly
we
do
have
that
those
too.
boards as well. So
Would you prefer a board or some handouts? Okay,
okay. Just some, so a lot of people may not know and
yeah,
be cool for them to highlight it.
okay, yeah, no problem.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you
Thank you very much.
All right, moving into presentations for tonight. First up is the impact of the pandemic on student learning needs.
Good evening, trustees, Dr. McLaughlin, cabinet. My name is Celine Liu. I'm the Director of Teaching, Learning, Educational Equity. And as we wait for the slides to come up, I want to thank you for providing the time for me to update you on where we are in San Leandro Unified in terms of the impact of the last 2.5 years. And so I'll just jump right into it. All right, so you are all deeply familiar with what has happened, but let me set the stage, although you know the story well. On March 20th, we know that we left our physical classrooms. We were all on lockdown for several months as teachers worked furiously in order to provide digital learning experiences for our students. We transitioned into a year where we were in Zoom classrooms and/or in hybrid. And then finally last year, we were able to return to in-person. And as you've been hearing from our sites, it feels like a very different year. And so here we are taking stock of where we are so that we can make sure that we're really doing what we need to do to support our students given where they are now. What I'm going to be doing is sharing some trends of what we're seeing with our students in academic areas, behavioral areas, mental health areas, student wellness. I'm going to start with academic, and I want to let you know that you will be getting a detailed presentation on how our students are doing in math, English language arts, and science when the state assessment data is released and the California dashboard is out. That data will also include information on chronic absenteeism, the college and career readiness indicator, suspension, graduation, dropout rate, expulsion. And that presentation usually happens in November or January. All right, so you can kind of look for that to come. But for now, I can share that our STAR scores, which is our universal screener, our progress monitoring tool, shows that there has been a decrease in the average percentile ranking for students in math and language arts from spring of 2019 until this past spring. And so our interventions to address some of this are our Learning Academy, which is in our elementary schools. It is for students who are demonstrating a need for more targeted instruction. We have secondary intervention courses such as Math Lab and Intensive Algebra. We have tutoring, small group and individual that happen during the day and after school. And we're continuing to provide professional development to make sure that what's happening in our classrooms for all of our students is really addressing what students need. Some of the instructional strategies that we do work on is project-based learning. Universal design for learning is a framework, and that's actually the theme for our District Professional Learning Day, which is coming up on October 24th. Also the first one in person in 3 years, so we're really excited about that. And we've also seen an increase in the percent of students who are earning B's and F's in grades 6 through 12, as well as students who therefore need high school credit recovery in grades 9 through 12. So what are we doing? We're looking at those D's and F's and analyzing trends to see if there are certain courses, certain subjects or content areas where students are more likely to be failing. And then seeing how this information can inform the specific intervention classes that we're offering. We're continuing the work that we've been doing over the past 6 years on assessing students accurately, which we now call grading for equity. We want to continue that work to make sure that grades really do reflect proficiency on learning and that it provides information to students to know where they are in relation to standards, so that grades aren't inflated by things that don't reflect the actual standards of a rigorous instructed course, nor are they deflated, for example, by disproportionate Fs. And then the policy board update that happened in February of 2021 really helps to drive this work. And then we're also working to implement the A through G Improvement Completion Grant, which we presented to you at the end of last year. So in addition to continuing credit recovery in the summer, we're also working to make sure that students have opportunities to recover credit during the school year. And so you should expect to see some of this starting to land at our 2 high schools this year. Now, student well-being, which will encompass a few different things. We're seeing that absence rates are higher at this moment in September than they were in 2020. Attendance got really complicated during the pandemic, and so we're also doing lots of training to make sure that our attendance is accurate as we move forward throughout the year. We're definitely seeing an increase in students who are using mental health services. We ended last year knowing and seeing this increased need as well. And so thank you for approving some of those additional contracts to make sure that we could meet those needs for these students. And we're also seeing increases in referrals to cost and behavioral interventions. So we are implementing family engagement. We are sending out letters, doing home visits, making sure that office staff and parent facilitators are trained so we can really have a supportive system to encourage and ensure that students are attending school more regularly. We have social emotional curriculum at the elementary schools at lunch and in small groups. You already heard at San Leandro High School some of the work that's being done around the school culture and climate to really make sure that it is a place where students feel taken care of and safe socio-emotionally. And again, we have been able to increase the mental health providers that are on campus in order to address this increased need that we're seeing for our students. So given where we are right now and given what we're seeing, we're asking ourselves, do our current intervention systems, the indicators we use, and our structures really support student learning needs? And what can we do better? This is written into our strategic plan, and this is really our due diligence as educators in this district to make sure that we continue to look to see how we can improve what it is we're doing for students. Given the data that we see and the services that we are providing right now, we're looking more heavily on the academic side. During the pandemic, we were able to really strengthen the social emotional supports that we provided to students. So some of the things that we're looking at to see whether they're really working for our students are some of those blended learning platforms. So there was a mighty rush to make sure that students had access to instructional materials. And so we're at a place now to really be able to evaluate and say, okay, is this really what students need in order to learn what they need to learn to meet the standards? We're looking at that learning academy format where a small group of students stays with a teacher in grades 1 through 3. Is this the best way to meet the learning needs, the academic needs of our students? We're looking at those secondary intervention courses when we do our analysis of where students are particularly challenged, in what classes, in what content areas. Do we need to be looking at other courses? Are the ones that we have right now really working to support students? We're looking at our assessment system. We want to make sure that the ways that we're assessing progress and collecting data to inform intervention is correct, that the data we're collecting is the right data, that it's really guiding instruction and providing teachers the information that they need in order to instruct effectively. And this is some work that we've already started with the elementary assessment working group that's been looking at our elementary assessment system since last year. And so that work will continue this year. And we're also looking at our system of multi-tiered integrated intervention supports. With our principals, with our intervention specialists, with our counselors, we'll look at student learning data and see what we find. We know that it's a really strong system. We know that it's deeply integrated, but what needs to be adjusted at this point? Again, how can we make this work better for our students? So that's the little update on where we are and what we're doing right now to really address student learning, and I'll take any questions.
Thank you, Celine. We have a queue going. Trustee Tate.
So thank you, Director Liu, for your presentation. I appreciate it. And I know that your work has always been very thorough. I've known that outside of San Leandro and within San Leandro. But I do want to ask about the increases in the Ds and Fs and how are we approaching that? I mean, you explained the interventions and I understand that. Do you think that is a result of just the learning loss as it relates to distance learning, COVID, or are there other factors that we could look at?
That's exactly the kind of investigation that we need to do. So we have multiple measures and ways of looking at student learning, including some of those other assessments, but by looking at syllabi, by looking at assessment data, we can more deeply understand exactly, why that's happening so that we can address it better.
Thank you.
Trustee Gonzalez.
Yeah, thank you for the presentation and all the work you're doing. My question is really looking at the interventions, especially for middle school and high schoolers, because oftentimes they are at a time that they miss a sport or a club or something that for their mental health is really, really important that they participate. And so what are you doing to make sure that it's not an either or, but a both?
Mhm. So that's part of the analysis of our MISS system. So some of that targeted intervention where students need some more intensive support could be embedded in the school day. Some of it could be after school. I mean, fortunately, we are providing some of that in both settings right now. We also have those courses, right? So is there something that's built into the school day that could address some of those needs?
Okay, thank you.
Trustee Oshinsky.
Yes, thank you for your presentation. None of this comes as a surprise, I think, to the majority of us. And I don't think we're alone in this. You know, I think schools across the nation are experiencing the same thing. One thing that I noticed in the school district that I work at is the behavior. There's a distinctive change in behavior, and I think that's an underlying cause of some of this.
Yeah, it's interesting. My colleague Rachel Vitania always says behavior is a way that students communicate to us. And so what is it that they're telling us? We see these increased referrals, but really what is that root cause? And so, yeah, I mean, they're deeply connected, the behavior, the academics, the mental health. And so how do we support all of that for the well-being of the whole student?
Absolutely, thank you.
Trustee Toledo.
Thank you so much for your thorough presentation. I felt like I gathered so much information today and you explained it really well. So you mentioned the increase in amount of absences currently right now in comparison to 2020. Are there any trends that you can share that you've been able to analyze so far?
Yeah, we were looking for the same thing too. Being that it's September, it's hard to see trends yet. So it really is just a snapshot right now. But as we continue to look at it, we'll definitely be trying to see patterns and trends.
Trustee Prala.
Yeah, my question, well, it's a two-part question. Part of it's to you, and I don't know if you can answer the other part, but you were talking about looking at assessment options for grades. And I was concerned with, I think Mr. D'Antonio or somebody before was talking about at various places, they were changing the standards so that, 70% doesn't necessarily mean a C anymore. It could be, the percentages were being evaluated. And I'm not sure, I think that's the best way to go about it. But what I was going to ask you is when you say you're looking at different assessment options, what are you looking at?
So we use the STAR, for example, as our district progress monitoring tool. So we give that test 3 times a year to see where students start, how they're doing at the middle of the year and the end. So that's one product, for example. And then there's a one-on-one test at the elementary schools that helps teachers to dig in a little bit more deeply into how are students reading, where are the specific areas that they need support, where are the specific math areas where maybe they need to be pulled into a small group. And so those are some of the assessments that we're looking at and evaluating as part of the elementary assessment work.
So you're not looking at changing like the percentage for a grade, for example, that was what he was talking about.
Yeah, so no, the policy and the AR don't say anything about percentages.
Okay.
It really still is teacher discretion. And we want to make sure that grades are able to communicate to students where they are in relation to their learning.
Okay, thank you.
Trustee Sheridan.
Yeah, I want to thank you for your presentation. During your presentation, you mentioned the need to continue investigating, drilling through the data to find some of these causes for the learning gaps, and then also coming up with these solutions. I'm just wondering, I know that that's time sensitive. The longer we allow it to go on, possibly the larger the gap, or we're not addressing that gap. Do you have any sort of time frame, any targets? I know that there's much work to be done, but a target to wait, we'd like to know by middle of next year, end of next year, so that we can really start implementing plans.
I mean, so yeah, it's if I may say, a little bit of, we have to do it right now. Like we're assessing, we're collecting the data and we're acting on it as soon as possible. So some of the things that you're seeing are really big and systemic, like the multi-tiered integrated intervention system of supports. But some of the things are what's happening in classrooms right now with students. What are some of those interventions that we can provide to them right now? Because they are however many grade levels behind in English language arts or math, for example. And so now, and I don't know that I have a specific date, but as we kind of collect the data and look, I can definitely provide updates. And moving forward, we definitely will be keeping the board and our committees updated on progress and findings that we have. I do want to say that our assessment window, our beginning of the year assessment window closes at the end of this month. And so that's going to be a really important time for us to dig in, as well as, when the dashboard data gets released, and will, provide another lens for us in terms of thinking about the program.
Great, thank you.
Yeah.
I think that's a really great question because we didn't put like a date for each of those next steps. And so the ones around looking to see if our current intervention format, if that's working or not, we already know, like we need to do more. And so that's why, to Trustee Gonzalez's point around not making sure that intervention is not just after school. You've already approved contracts as a board for interventions that are now landing and pushing into certain courses, whether it's a general math class or spaces like that. Around the looking at the Learning Academy, we're going to start our walks as soon as this beginning of the year data is complete. And then the interventions that are around looking at secondary courses, credit recovery, and those formats, we really start all our master scheduling work this coming November. By if there's new courses that we need or have to adjust, that has to get to board curriculum committee before the end of this year in order for us to affect the next year's master schedule. But I think Celine alluded to, you should see credit recovery stuff starting to pop up as early as, if not second quarter, then third quarter or the beginning of second semester. So we're trying to sort of, some things we have to structurally change for next year, but the things that we can change now, we're sort of putting ourselves on the clock to start by this coming quarter or next semester. And you'll see contracts coming to the board tonight, actually, related to things that we've already noticed about the socio-emotional needs, or as Trustee Ashinsky said, the behavior, and the need to have some extra support on the yards at lunch.
Thanks, Celine. I just wanted to jump in a little bit on the timing. There's some realities out there that I think we all need to grasp. And yes, these are real issues that are going on, but these are the people that can do it. But it's getting difficult in all the districts because sometimes they're covering classrooms. Sometimes they're covering schools. So, there's these real problems with the lack of staff. It's not about money. It's not about this. So you got this hole from the pandemic. And I think if people are looking into reality and not La La Land, it's going to be hard. It's not like people don't want to do it. You've got some passionate people here that are trying everything they can. But the reality is, many of the times, they're going to be covering classes or covering whole schools, running around, doing all this stuff. So there's these challenges they have to get this learning gap going. Like I said, I'll talk in my report about, what we talked about the NorCal SUPS meeting, where this is happening everywhere. There's not one place that people are not concerned and worried about it. And we're asking people at the state level, what are your solutions? Because we're trying to be as creative as possible to hammer these things. You got money to get intervention, you got money for this, but you may not be able to get those people, to come do these interventions. So I just want to put that out there because I think I want to make sure that we keep communicating to our community public that they're trying. They're going 150%. They're working all night. They're working on weekends, trying to get this done. But there's going to be so much these people are going to do. And I can tell you that the children are different. The parents, it's a big lift. We're not coming out of this pandemic and we're fixing this in a year. Okay, it's going to take years. And I think that's the realistic view we all need to have with this is we're going to push, we're going to try everything, we're going to do everything we can to get this done. But it's this thing did a doozy on us. And, and so, I'm just proud of this group. I mean, they're going to try everything. So anyways, good job, Celine. Sorry to put a damper on that. You were so positive.
Oh.
So I just want to make sure, I don't think we're talking a lot about it, that, you know what, people just think, hey, we're out, here's some money, and it's all going to be fixed. No, I think there's a lot more things we need to talk about. So anyways, that's it.
Trustee Gonzalez.
I'm sorry, I jumped back in, but I did want us to think about maybe having her back more often. And so like at the closing of the grading period, have her back in January, because I do think this is an important topic for us to be updated on a regular basis. And so.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Okay, moving to the next presentation, 2021-22 unaudited actuals.
All right, like magic. Good evening, trustees and Dr. McLaughlin and the rest of cabinet. I'm going to briefly go over the 21-22 unaudited actuals for you tonight. And we're going to go ahead and get started here. With that, in terms of what we want to look at, review the 21-22 revenues and expenditures. Want to update you on where we are with our one-time COVID funding. Look at our enrollment and attendance. Certainly ties into the last presentation you heard in terms of attendance trends, our 22-23 state budget update, and then talk about next steps here with business. So first off, here we are with the budget cycle. We started way back in January 2021 talking about this budget, and we're way down at the bottom here. Second step from the bottom in September 2022, looking at the unaudited actuals. The only step left after this is our audit report, which will hopefully be in December. I want to look at the general fund revenues, and you can see that we had 137.7 million in general fund revenues last year. As always, LCFF plays by far the largest, is the largest percentage of our general fund revenues. It's usually larger, and the reason it is not quite as large, it's not this normal 75 or 3/4, is because of the additional COVID funding and some of the other additional one-time dollars that we got last year. So 70.6% LCFF. Federal and state are also oversized from what they are, and then you can see other local, which is things like parcel tax dollars that pass through SELPA, donations, rentals, leases, etc. It's part of other local. And here is how we spend our dollars. And again, no surprise here, 46, almost 47% of our dollars go to certificated salaries, 12% go to classified salaries, another 20% go to benefits. Reminder that benefits here is things like pension, CalSTRS, CalPERS, workers' compensation, unemployment, things along those lines. 3.2% of our expenditures are for books and supplies, and then contract services. And contract services has grown during the pandemic because of some of those COVID fundings that we've talked about. Just under 80% of our employee salaries and benefits are, just under 80% of our expenditures are for salaries and benefits. We do like to see that higher again, but that's just a function of the COVID dollars that we have right now. So just under $127 million last year in expenditures. Ending fund balance, we have had a trend here for 3 years of an increasing ending fund balance because of strategic use of COVID funds, receipt of our one-time funds, which continued last year and is continuing into this year, and also because of the difficulty of maintaining full staffing. We've had a number of vacancies, which is not how we want to increase our bottom line. But we've talked about the difficulty of finding people. Our ending fund balance increased during 21-22, unrestricted ending fund balance, just about $23.6 million. And our restricted ending fund balance is about $14.5 million. Reminder that that ending fund balance on the restricted side is things like redevelopment agency dollars, which are used for facilities, educator effectiveness grant, which came in new last year, A through G completion improvement grant, also new last year with no expenditures, all of those expenditures starting this year and going forward. Other funds, you know that we don't just have the general fund, but that is where we spend most of our time. Adult ed, a small decrease of about $114,000 in adult ed. They had some capital projects, $1.8 million ending fund balance. Food service increased by about 1.5 million to just over 6 million. And they had increased reimbursement rates. So the federal government had increased the rates, and now they've done that ongoing. But there were also other one-time grants specifically to offset costs for food service. So they ended up increasing it. They've looked again at staffing, quality of food, other capital expenditures to try to spend that down. But it's been going up so far. Bond, we ended the year with 56.3 million in both J1 and N. We spent $23.4 million last year on all the, partially on the projects that you've seen here tonight. Other funds, Fund 25, small amount, increased by $46,000 to $343,000 we get from new development within our district. And a reminder that what we're doing with that is looking at TK portables at Madison. It'll be ready at some point. And the last one there, Fund 40, which is primarily where the lease revenues go for us, increased by $228,000. Lease revenues rebounded last year after taking a big dip during COVID. We have about 2.6 million in Fund 40. COVID funding, we know that we're getting just over $22 million from several sources. We talked about ELOG, Expanded Learning Opportunity Grant from the state. ESSER is the Elementary and Secondary School Emergency Relief. Where these were in three major buckets. ELOG, 6.2 million, 67% spent at that point. We have some dollars to carry into this year. ESSER 2, what happened to ESSER 1? ESSER 1, remember, got spent on MacBook Pros about a year and a half ago. ESSER 2, we get in $4.8 million. That's 66% spent at this point. And ESSER 3 is by far the largest amount, $10.9 million, just 6% spent at this point. These dollars spent last year, this year, next year, and then they're gone. Enrollment in ADA. Majority of our district funding comes from average daily attendance. Students need to attend school each day for us to get paid. To calculate revenue, districts can use either current year or prior year ADA, whichever is greater. However, a new law this year allows districts to use a prior 3-year average to calculate ADA, and this will slow the impact of declining enrollment and declining ADA for the San Leandro Unified School District. So it is definitely a helpful thing for a couple years for our district. Here's a look at enrollment. This is starting at 8,000. If you look at that, you see from 2015-16 through 19-20, we peaked at 9,067 students. Right now, we're sitting at just about 8,620 students. That'll go up or down a few, depending on what day or what time of the day you're looking at it, but it's roughly 8620. Represents about a 450 student decrease from where we were just before COVID. And again, these are preliminary numbers. Our official number will be in October, first Wednesday in October. Traditionally, we know that our ADA is roughly 95% year in, year out. Really suffered last year at 88%. Figure 88% is about 21 days of missed school for every student in our district. But another way to look at it is probably 2 full quarantine periods last year, because we were putting a lot of kids out throughout the year. So it's not a surprise that it was 88%. We do have an opportunity to raise that 88% to 95 through some magic of math that this state has given us, at least for funding purposes. It would have been great if the kids were actually able to be here for 95% last year. State budget update. Final LCF COLA is coming in 2 parts this year. There's a 6.56% statutory COLA. And then there's another augmentation that originally the state said was 6.28%. But as of just about 2 weeks ago, the state passed a new budget cleanup bill, increasing that augmentation to 6.7%. So you won't see this. The state doesn't put these together because the 6.56 is only applied to all of our categoricals. That 13.26 is just what we're looking at internally in terms of the impact on our local control funding formula. Actual district LCFF increase will be reduced because of our declining enrollment. If we were able to hold on to those 9,067 students or even go up from there, it would have been much better financial picture for the district. But there are some things that offset that. We have 2 additional one-time funding sources that I want to talk about this year. There are more than 2, but 2 big ones. There's something called the Art, Music, and Instructional Materials Grant, which is about $5.6 million at this point. The deadline for spending those dollars is 25-26 school year. So we have some time for that. There'll be a plan that has to be brought to you later on this year on how to spend those dollars. And there's also something called the Learning Recovery Emergency Block Grant of just over $13 million is our estimate. These estimates are coming from school services. These are not CDE numbers at this point, but we hope to get those at some point soon. And hopefully these are pretty accurate. The deadline for those dollars is 27/28. So those dollars have a long shelf life, which is nice. Finally, I want to go over the ELOP, Expanded Learning Opportunity Program. There were a number of proposals that kind of kept coming fast and furious throughout the spring about where we were going to land. In the end, what was decided on by the state and approved was $2,750 per ADA for districts that are greater than 75% unduplicated pupil percentage, UPP, unduplicated pupil percentage, and $2,052 per ADA for districts less than 75% unduplicated. You might think we're 76% last year, we're higher than 75. That's not the case. They use a rolling average to do that calculation. So we came in at $2,052, 69.9% unduplicated. They use that smoothing mechanism that can work against us in this case. However, districts at 75% above will be able to keep their 3 years of higher funding, even if that UPP subsequently falls below 75. So at this trend, with the work that the district has been doing to increase our free reduced lunch percentage and make sure that we do the outreach with it, it looks like we would be able to qualify this in a few years, have an even larger increase on our ELOP program. $5.5 million is not an insignificant program. That's what we're talking about this year for ELOP. So it's a significant program. There it is, 5.6 million. Next steps, auditors have been working with the district since March on our 21-22 financials. Our 21-22 audit report will be presented in December, and staff will present the 22-23 first interim report in December, representing all of the district activity through October 31st, 2022. And that is it. We'd like to note that this is the last time we'll be using the SACS software to present your the financials. After this, it's only online. So last time you'll ever see it. The online version doesn't look quite as nice. It's not nice, quite as nicely formatted. You may notice the difference going forward, but this, after a couple decades, the state is retiring this software package.
All right, Trustee Prola.
Yeah, I just had one question. The Learning Recovery Grant, can that money be used for personnel like to lower class size or hire a reading teacher or something?
The answer is yes. It has a lot of uses that it could be put towards because it has a specific timeline to it and it will expire. We want to make sure that we use it for things that we know we can do for a period of time, and then know that those things go away. So things like reading recovery teachers or reading teachers. One of the thoughts is potentially to look at really what are the high value, high leverage items that we're doing within our COVID funding. We could take those and then extend those out for several more years is one option. But those are all the things we're going to look at as we go through the year and once we get an official number from the California Department of Education.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Trustee Gonzalez.
Yeah, so a couple of comments. First, the art, music, and instructional materials sounds like we can use it for anything, but it has a title that sounds like we're supposed to use it for certain things.
It's a little bit deceptive, right?
Yeah.
It is. Art, music, and instructional materials sounds like you could use it for everything. It is technically a restricted grant. However, we can use it for absolutely anything. We could pay our power bills. We can do whatever we wanted to do with those dollars. So there has to be a plan for it, how we spend it. That has to be brought to the board for approval, but it is open season in terms of what we actually want to do with those dollars. The other one, the learning recovery, has some more rules to it that essentially follow the COVID rules.
Yeah, it was strange when I heard it and then I read what it could be used for. And so,
Right.
so I hope our district follows LCAP and maybe setting the priorities would be what I would hope. And then my last comment is ADA. COVID's still here. We still have quarantine. Right. We still have kids that are out. And so I look at our ADA is still going to suffer from that. Is there any movement at the state for saying we have to budget for a child every single day, even though they don't attend every single day?
You know, and there's some irony in that in terms of whether or not the child is there, you have to pay the teacher, you have to have the lights on, you have to have insurance, books, nursing services and principal and library and all of those costs that go along with it. And if you have a child that's not there, you even have greater needs because you have to do outreach and work with them at home and try to get them caught up and dealing with the learning loss. And in the current model, you receive nothing for that. There has been a push, over time. There was talk last year, it should be enrollment-based ADA.
The state certainly has the capacity within its CalPAD system to really get micro in terms of knowing who students are and what days they're enrolled and what days they're not enrolled. However, Dr. McLaughlin talked with the superintendent's group last week, and he says that that's really kind of fallen off the table at this point. So we have modeled, we think ADA at this point, estimating 92% this year, 95 normally, 88 last year, 92, 93, 94, 95 over the next 4 years, sort of growing back to normal. But you're right that COVID is definitely going to play an impact on what we do and how it goes, and sort of the not just COVID itself, but the anxiety around it is going to play a role. And it would be, I think, a really bold move for the state to change its funding mechanism. We want kids here. We want them to attend, but we need resources to make that happen, and not paying when students don't show up. And then after the fact, deciding, well, we're just going to change the rules. It's not helpful, right?
Thank you.
Trustee Tate.
Can you please tell me, what are our reserves at this point?
Good question. It's about $24 million is our unrestricted ending fund balance at this point.
And what percentage is that? Because I know we have to do at least a minimum of 3%.
3%, right. It's roughly 16%, if my memory is right, roughly 16% at this point.
Okay, which is good, because I know before, in times past, we used to always hover around 3%. And then when we had increased enrollment, it was, it continued to grow. And then now it looks like our enrollment is decreasing. So
This gives us a little bit of a cushion to not be so worried about every single dollar. If there's an undersized class, we're not pulling the trigger to close classes, because we're not so economically focused. We're more focused on sort of education at this point, which is what we want to be. And that's sort of the gift of an ending fund balance.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
Lets you focus on the more important things.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Collins.
Thank you.
Okay, next is a public hearing for the sufficiency of instructional materials for 2022, 2023. I'll preface by saying that public comments are usually limited to 3 minutes per speaker, subject to my adjustment. Members of the audience who wish to address the board regarding the public hearing were asked to complete the yellow cards available at the entrance and submit it to the board's executive assistant. With that, moving into the public hearing, I'll ask trustees for a motion to open public hearing.
I'll make a motion to open the public hearing.
All right, motion from trustee Gonzalez and seconded by trustee Prola. Please vote. Okay, with a 7-0 vote, public hearing is now open. Given that we do not have any public testimony cards, and at least I don't have any in front of me, Ms. Mayfield. Okay, thank you. Then we'll go ahead and ask trustees for a motion to close public hearing.
So moved.
All right, it's been moved by trustee Sheridan and seconded by trustee Oshinsky. Please vote. All right, 7-0, and that closes public hearing. Before we go into reports, trustees, we've been at it for about an hour. I'm going to ask if you would like a 5-minute recess or so just to get back. Okay, great. Then we will go ahead and take a 5-minute recess. We'll come back in 5 minutes. audience, let's go ahead and come back. I know. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll go ahead and come back together. Ooh, excuse me. I'm honored to have used the gavel for the first time in years. Oh, I don't know. You see what's in here and see what you think is good. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and get started with the remaining items on the agenda. Right. Yeah. All right. First up on reports is correspondence. Trustee Tate.
Okay, I have the clerk's report for September 13th, 2022. August 24th, Penny Pack sent an email for the Alameda County School Boards Association meeting on October 20th. August 24th, Emily from the chamber sent CEO updates and invitations. August 25th, Ruth Jones, all schools call COVID-19 updates. August 25th, Keziah Moss, New Lincoln High School campus groundbreaking ceremony. August 26th, La Familia 2022 newsletter. August 26th, Alameda County Rodeo Town Hall with Supervisor Dave Brown. August 27th, CIO Dive, what tech startups layoffs could mean to CIOs. August 27th, Cal Matters Weekly Top Story. August 30th, K through 12 Dive, what makes Dreambox learning educators first choice. August 30th, CIO Dive, CIO Conference 2022. September 2nd, SLUSD Communication, hot weather information. September 2nd, SLED Gala tickets on sale, event Saturday, 9/17. September 2nd, Cal Matters, the week's top stories. September 6th, Higher Ed Dive, ensuring student wellness. September 7th, Effective School Solutions, Back to School Guide. September 8th, Personnel Services Athletic Coach Vacancy, Bancroft Boys Soccer. September 8th, Personnel Services Classified Vacancy, Office Assistant at Garfield. September 9th, California Consulting Education Grant Opportunities. September 10th, Cal Matters, the week's top stories. September 12th, SLUSD Teach Learn Equity. October 24th, Professional Learning Day. September 12th, Michelle Mayfield upcoming events. September 13th, Personnel Services Classified Vacancy, a custodian at Bancroft. And September 13th, ACOE Teacher of the Year, which is Thursday, October 8th. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Trustee Tate. Okay, next up is Student Board Member Report. Trustee Maya Proctor.
Good evening, everyone. Wonderful to be here again. In terms of my report, I would just like to briefly speak on the quad that has been added to San Leandro High School. I must say that the students are really enjoying the quad and the additional seating that's been placed. You know, previously with the old quad, there was maybe like 5 benches and students would have to practically race to get seating. And having all this excessive seating at our disposal and our dispense is so helpful now that everybody can really sit down. Just touching on to what Dr. McLaughlin said about the shade. I've heard students asking or saying that they wish they had shade, especially with this heat wave that just passed. Sitting down with lunch and having a cover would be something that they would like to have. However, another thing about the quad too, we really appreciate how swiftly we can get to class because we can just walk through the pavement. Whereas beforehand, sometimes walking in the dirt wasn't always the best route to go if we needed to get to class. So having the pavement is really, really nice and it's so smooth. It looks so good, seriously. And then since I've been back to school, I have to say, I think I honestly and truthfully can say this has been so far all my years have been wonderful, but this one has got to be my favorite, maybe because I think I noticed more of a connection with teachers and students. And I want to say that connection kind of furthered since we had that disconnect over Zoom. Teachers have definitely been more extending of themselves to ensure that students are really making sure that they're all on the same page and in the same chapter, the same book, which is making sure students are successful in high school. And just is more or less linear, but leadership is planning out events for the school thus far. And even today in class, we contemplated on possibly adding things to our student center, which is where students have the ability to create posters or get together and make things for the school. We'd like to get some new supplies, and we're hoping to kind of refurbish everything to ensure that students have just a better, or not a better space to say necessarily, but just a more thorough space where students have easier access to things and supplies. But in terms of the school year so far, it has been nothing but wonderful.
Great to hear. Thank you, Amaya. All right, moving into union representative reports, and I do not see any of our union representatives, so I'm going to move straight into board committee reports. First up, communication and advocacy.
Okay, we met September 6th. For the bond update under communication discussion, the website page has been updated, and Renee and Keziah will meet after each board meeting to confirm the accuracy of info in the website. So it will be updated tomorrow. Lincoln High School plans for the new structure have been uploaded to the website since residents were inquiring about parking and logistics and just general information on the structure. So that's all on the website now. Ribbon cuttings. We're looking at doing the high school quad in the end of September, and Bancroft Middle School ribbon cutting is anticipated in October after the open house events. The events resolution awareness calendar. We reviewed the list of updated resolutions for the school year, and the resolutions, I mentioned this last time, will come a month before. So today we are approving all of the October resolutions. That way they're all signed when they upload them to give them to the teachers. And then if they have been on if we have done them before, so we've approved them before, they're on consent. If it's a new resolution, then we will have it on action. District communication projects. The EL master plan is currently in the formatting phase. It is new and improved and includes translations. Bond and EL newsletters going out quarterly. The adult school logo and brochure redesign draft options were reviewed by the committee and feedback was provided. We anticipate the selection of the brochure design by October 31st for the January distribution. Naming schools process. So Joaquin is completed. We have a recent inquiry from Jefferson about renaming their school site. But we've decided to delay that a little since it's a new principal and it's a big lift. So we're not fast tracking it, but we're just will be delayed a little bit. And then the San Leandro Virtual Academy, we have ongoing discussion concerning logistics for this site. Then we moved into the advocacy discussion. So we did discuss the Student Achievement Awards and decided that in October, we gave some feedback and then look forward to October having a more in-depth conversation. The same for the Rainbow Clubs. We had a conversation about what we were looking for and what information we needed, and then we'll have a deeper conversation at the next one. Recognition plaques. So there's currently a plaque at the Muir soccer field outside, and there's also a plaque at what was the Wilson site. And what we decided was we don't want to remove plaques because it's part of the history. So at Joaquin, what they're going to do is put another plaque next to it with information about the name change, when it happened, and then some historical information. So the plaque that's there will remain. as well as an informational plaque will be beside it. And that will do at the Mere soccer field. We're going to leave the plaque there. And that's a historical marker. And so that's what we've decided to do with those. And then we're also looking at incorporating some sort of memorial plaque at the high school quad. And we had talked about, Christian Rodriguez, as well as the other school board members that died while they were still in office. So that concludes the communication and advocacy report.
Thank you very much. Next up is curriculum and policy.
We will meet on September 26th.
Thank you. Next up, facilities and technology.
F&T met September 7th. We started off with a technology update from Larry Simon, and then we moved into an informational discussion regarding some cleanup of some DSA projects involving Bancroft, Muir, San Leandro High, and Lincoln. We had a couple of items on consent, some change orders for some of the ongoing projects. And then we discussed and moved some items to the agenda that you will see under action items under both facilities and IT. Larry had a project going for the camera lock systems for the entries at schools. And then we also have an item on for maintenance to purchase a new mower. And that was it for F&T.
Thank you very much. Next is finance.
We also met on September the 7th. We had two items, the 2021-22 unaudited actuals report and presentation, which you heard this evening. And then we also had an update on Measure N and Series B and C bonds. Our next meeting will be December the 7th.
Thank you. Thank you. Next is drug, alcohol, tobacco, education, date committee.
Yes, we had another meeting on September 7th. That was date. We started off with a discussion and a program summary overview of summer school for 2022. We had approximately 2,300 students participate in our summer school program this year. Kudos to the team. That was a huge lift. We also discussed the TUPE, the Tobacco Use Prevention Education Program for 2022-23. We reviewed the list of coordinators, and we also discussed upcoming events. And then we also had a discussion regarding the assigned school-based mental health professional allocations and crisis counselors. We reviewed and had some discussions about Care Solace. And lastly, we had some updates on our multi-tiered integrated intervention systems, as it was referenced earlier in Ms. Liu's presentation. Dr. Patel also shared some information on some of the updates that we're doing in that system to help identify the needs of our students. And that is it for my report.
All right, thank you. Next is the consent agenda. Trustees, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll second.
Okay, it's been moved by trustee Gonzalez, seconded by trustee Oshinsky. Please vote. All right, consent agenda is moved 7-0. We're gonna go ahead and move into action and discussion items. As usual, questions. I'll be looking at, oh, actually, no, just raise your hand because it's easier for that since we're gonna be breezing through. So I'll be paying attention. All right. Under category 2, business and operations, 2A, approval of 2021-22 unaudited actuals SACS report.
I'll move to A.
I'll second.
All right, it's been moved by trustee Oshinsky, seconded by trustee Gonzalez. Please vote. That goes 7+1. Moving into 2B, agreement with Pixelot game recording and broadcast system at San Leandro High School.
I'll move.
I'll second.
2B.
All right, it's been moved by trustee Gonzalez, seconded by trustee Sheridan. Please vote. That goes 7+1. Moving into 3, administrative services, 3A, substitute daily rate.
I'll move a 3A.
I'll second.
It's been moved by trustee Tate, seconded by trustee Oshinsky. Please vote. All right, 7+1. 3B, memorandum of understanding between the San Leandro Unified School District and Teamsters Union Local Number 856 and Alameda Building Trades Council.
I'll move 3B.
I'll second it.
It's been moved by trustee Sheridan, seconded by trustee Gonzalez. There we go.
We have a question.
Trustee Prola?
No, she was voting.
Oh, okay. Okay, good. Okay. Then please vote. All right, that is 7+1. Move into 3C, MOU between San Leandro Unified School District and the San Leandro Teachers Association in lieu pay.
I'll move 3C.
I'll second.
So moved by trustee Tate, seconded by trustee Oshinski. Please vote. Good. Okay. That is 7+1. Moving into educational services, 4A, contracted services agreement between San Leandro Unified School District, McKinley Elementary School, and Camp Arroyo.
I'll move 4A.
Second.
It's been moved by trustee Toledo and seconded by trustee Prola. Please vote. That is 7+1. 4B, approval of contract between Lawrence Hall of Science and San Leandro Unified School District for middle school field trip programs for 2022-2023.
I'll second it.
So moved by trustee Prola, seconded by trustee Tate. Please vote. Good. Sure. We have a quick question from our student board member.
Briefly.
Yeah, go ahead.
What is a memorandum?
So it's a side contract, so we have a contract, and there's something that's kind of outside, we do a memorandum of understanding, so both parties come together and we make an agreement and we sign.
Okay, then with that, 7+1. Thank you. Moving into 4C, approval of Nexplore and John Muir Middle School for enrichment programs for 2022-2023.
I'll move 4C.
I'll second.
So moved by trustee Gonzalez, seconded by trustee Oshinski. Please vote. Thank you. 7+1. 4D, consolidated application for funding categorical programs 2022-2023.
I'll move 4D.
I'll second.
It's moved by trustee Tate, seconded by trustee Oshinski. Please vote. Okay, 7+1. Moving to 4E, approval of contract between contract service between Garfield Elementary and Nexplore enrichment programs for 2022-2023.
I'll second.
It's been moved by trustee Prola, seconded by trustee Gonzalez. Please vote. All right, that goes 7+1. Moving into 4F, approval of memorandum of understanding between the Parent Institute for Quality Education, PEAK, and San Leandro Unified School District for 2022-2023.
I'll move 5F for PK.
I'll second it.
PK, thank you. It's been moved by trustee Sheridan and seconded by trustee Tate. Please vote. Okay, that goes 7+1. Moving into 4G, resolution 2245, sufficiency of instructional materials.
I'll move that one. I'll second.
It's been moved by trustee Prola, seconded by trustee Gonzalez. Please vote. All right, 7+1. Moving into 4H, contracted services agreement with Prime Care Health Solutions Incorporated.
I'll move 4H.
I'll second it.
So moved by trustee Oshinski, seconded by trustee Gonzalez. Please vote. All right, excuse me, that goes 7+1. Moving into category 5, facilities and construction. 5A, resolution 2247, authorizing the filing of documents under the state school facility program for Bancroft and Muir Middle School, Lincoln High School, and the San Leandro High School.
5A.
I'll second.
It's been moved by trustee Prola, seconded by trustee Oshinski. Please vote. Okay, that goes 7 and student board member abstains. Okay, moving into 5B, turf and industrial, new mower.
I'll move 5B.
I'll second it.
It's been moved by trustee Sheridan, seconded by trustee Tate. Please, I got you. Trustee Oshinski.
I have a question. What is the mower for turf?
It's grass.
Okay.
That's just a company.
I'm thinking AstroTurf. Got it.
And they got the test drive one too.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. So the motion was by trustee Sheridan and seconded by trustee Tate. We'll go ahead and take a vote. That's 7+1. Moving into 5C, PG&E EV Schools Program Contract, Sponsor Site Host Agreement, James Madison, excuse me, Elementary.
I'll move 5C.
I'll second it.
So moved by trustee Gonzalez, seconded by trustee Tate, and please vote. Yeah, okay. 5C goes 7 and abstention from student board member. Okay, thank you. Please hold a second. All right, trustees, want to make that motion?
I'll move 6A through 6K.
And I'll second 6A through 6K.
All right, thank you. The motion to approve 6A through 6K done by trustee Gonzalez, seconded by trustee Prola. Please vote. Thank you very much. All those items are 7+1. Now we move into cabinet reports, starting with Superintendent Dr. Mike McLaughlin.
Thank you so much. So it's been exciting couple weeks before the last board meeting. I did want to start out with the biggest kudos to first the community for giving us money for the brand new HVACs. Every year we see the benefit from that, not only the good heating, but also AC has come in benefit every year. And with COVID, we were able to put filters in there. And, it just really, sometimes people think about how great facilities can be for learning. This is a huge one. And I want to thank the maintenance department, because even though you have HVACs, they break, they go down, do stuff, but they were running around, fixing them as quick as possible. And we had a school go down because it did the whole breaker went out, but it's good to have that problem because we at least have something to fix. So I know I talked to many of my colleagues that were, just miserable in some of those classrooms. So I'm just a thank you to my team and Kevin, good job. Greg, everybody. It was a long week. Let's just hope we don't have another one. It was hard. NorCal, like I said, I get to go a couple times a year to with some my colleagues throughout the Northern California part of the state. And it's an opportunity for us to talk with each other about issues we have at schools, but also we have the ear of AXA right in front of us to talk about issues that we have, and we need them to get to the governor's office and really hit. And I can tell you the biggest one we talked about was teacher shortages. And it's not more about, well, okay, we have teacher shortages. It's what is the governor and the state going to do creatively to start getting more teachers. I mean, and we threw out ideas to bring that the new AXA president should bring to the governor's office, which is like, what is the state colleges going to do? Oh, can we offer free tuition to anybody who wants to be a teacher? The University of Southern California is doing that. If you want to be a teacher, it's free. So those are the kind of things that we were throwing around saying, what are we going to do to build our teaching workforce up? Because we just can't sit around and say, it is what it is. Right? We need to have qualified teachers in the classroom, and you're going to see a wave of teachers retiring. I think a large wave, and the ones replacing just are not there. And also in the specialized departments, like special ed is a big hole. Teachers wanting to go into the special ed departments to teach. And so I would love to say it was an exciting day, but it wasn't. There's a lot of concern because we're passionate leaders. We want to see public education thrive. And we need support. And so we asked AXA to really go to battle for us. We also threw the ADA versus enrollment, because we get another surge coming. This is, we shouldn't be held responsible when we really need them to stay home if they're not supposed to be at school because of COVID or something like that. So those are the main issues, just everybody kind of going around and going, what's happening here? It's the same stuff, vacancies in key classes where some of our most vulnerable children need those qualified teachers, and they're just not out there, and it's not really about money. We talked to, bringing them from other countries. I'm getting calls from people that say, hey, if I was to bring teachers from the Philippines, what would be my cut? I mean, this is what's going out on the world. It's in what always happens in our business is all these other businesses come now when there's a problem, right? When COVID hit, I had 100 emails a day about COVID solutions and things like now it's all about how can we help hire teachers for you? Okay, and so the conversation's happening, but I'm hoping to see by the next meeting that we see some creative solutions. And I know we've done that before in time where it's like, hey, we need you, go, if you want to go become a teacher, we'll give you free tuition, or we'll do this, we'll do that. It's gotta happen because it's, and we also talked about the lack of leaders. We just don't need teachers, we need principals. And we've talked about it before, right here at the board meetings. We used to get 15 applicants for an elementary job, and now we're getting like 2. Okay, so that's a problem, We got the best too, but anyways, it's, I love being able to have that opportunity because it's a real tight group. And we have the ear of Edgar, who's the new AXA president, and then his job is to go meet with the governor's office and try to bang the doors down and see if they can get us. Of course, the budget's great and there's money, but as we said, it's nice to have a lot of money, but if there's no bodies, that's, so what? We have to figure this problem. We will, like I said, we're trying to be real about it. The quad is fantastic. Of course, we'll come up with shade solutions. And, I told them if we do another quad, let's not open it on the hottest week of the year. Let's open it in the winter, but again, it's not finished, we still got a lot of things to do to wrap it up. Bancroft's coming along. Again, the hell hold up with the PG&E. I thank you, Aaron, for pushing them. We've been trying to push the city to get us in line a little quicker. The drop-off pickup, I think, is a game changer there. I think it's not being talked a lot about, but it really is. Seeing people to go through, pick up, it relieves some traffic. Now, there's still going to be challenges because we're teaching everybody how to do something new, and making sure kids go on the crosswalk, making sure they don't run across here, and middle school is, can be a little, but no matter what we do, no matter what signs we put, somebody doesn't ever want to follow direct. Trust me, I drop my boy off in the morning and it's pretty simple. Go around, let them out. And somebody's always got to not follow the system, which closes things up. But I think when you see that whole place finished, the track and everything, it is a game changer at Bancroft. It's a game changer for the traffic there. And I'm just excited. It's safe for the students because I don't know if we're having them take the crosswalk over by the Memorial Center. So they're waiting for the bus over there instead of trying to go across that 4-way. So we're trying to, intersection where parents, their heads are, trying to, it's just crazy. So congratulations on that. I mean, sometimes people don't see why we do these projects, but we do have a reason for doing these things. So lastly, sled gala. I'm excited. This is always a fun part of the year where we get to see everybody out there and support a good cause. And I think Kate Miller's doing a wonderful job kicking this off as the new leader of that as well. So I hope to see all you there and in your gala gear. Right? All right. That's it for me.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Mike. Next up, Assistant Superintendent of Educational Services, Dr. Sonal Patel.
Thank you. Our teaching, learning, and educational equity team, working with other divisions, is busily getting ready for our professional learning day on October 24th. We're excited about that day for all folks who work in San Leandro and have that as a work day to come to our FTK campus and engage in a day of professional learning. Sessions will be rooted in the SLUSD strategic plan and therefore focus on, quote, building educators' capacity to support students by using anti-racist and culturally linguistically responsive practices, arts integrated methodology, and universal design for learning, unquote. That is one of the initiatives in our strategic plan. So for this October 24th PD Day, the central theme is going to be universal design for learning and how that intersects with math, science across the content areas, as well as some of our methodologies of choice here in San Leandro, for example, project-based learning. Also want to let you know that the next board meeting in October, the board will receive a presentation on our English language learner master plan, which outlines identification, program, and evaluation for our multilingual learners who are classified as English learners. It's been revised through a series of committees and meetings with parent and staff input, including our DLAC, and is complete as it can be, because it's a living document that we want to continually update. And we'll be coming to you next month as a board presentation. And we're already starting to present it to our site management team. We worked with the principals today and are taking them through chapter by chapter so that they understand the plan and can think about who on their staff needs to be trained so we can make sure it's a document that is actually in implementation and informs our practice. Happy update on data from our summer math and computer science programs. Our students came during the summer for math intervention and computer science enrichment programs. Over 342 students who participated in our Elevate Math program in grades 3 through 9, and 105 who participated in the Computer Science Institute grades 7 and 10 showed a higher percentage of improvement on assessments than the other districts that sort of use these same programs. And so particularly our third, middle, and high school courses showed highest levels of improvement in math proficiency. And all 100% of the seventh graders who participated in Elevate Math showed improvement and in the form of mastery on standards. And so even though we're talking about tough teacher shortages and it's kind of hard sometimes to find teachers to run the intervention programs that we want to run and fund through the initiatives that are listed in our LCAP or in our school site plans, some of these partnerships that we're having with these organizations, whether it's through West Ed or nonprofits or some of our university partnerships, we're learning from them because they are making some traction with our students. And so we just want to make sure that we're letting you know that we're seeing some improvements there and that we're going to surely leverage every single, strategy that is brought to us in those venues. Just a little preview, we are meeting with the Cal State East Bay President Kathy Sandine, former SLHS pilot, to talk about some potential promise programs where we can map out together some pathways for our students where if they engage in a certain kind of learning and they meet certain marks along the way, they can be guaranteed admission to Cal State East Bay. Dr. Mike and I are going to meet with her at the end of the month, and we're excited. We're going to give her a tour and see if we can come up with a memorandum of understanding, Ms. Proctor. We're going to try to get some words on paper and see if we can come to an agreement on how to make college admission just a little bit smoother and easier because we're right next door to Cal State East Bay. And so we think that could be good for our students. And then lastly, I just want to say that we've done a lot of work with our teachers over the past 6 years on assessing student learning accurately. That work is now called Grading for Equity. It's resulted after 5 years of work. We did a policy change on February of 2021. There was a presentation to the board by instructional coach and teaching learning department on some changes in order to make sure that we weren't overweighting the F, that every grade had equal merit, and that kids weren't also getting overinflated in grades by last minute extra credit or things like that, right? And so most of those are suggestions in the policy, but the thing that's very clear about the policy is making sure that each grade has the equal weight. The issues that we're finding are implementing that in the grade book that we have, which the way the system have been set up has been challenging. And so I just want to say that we're going to engage in a commitment to continue to work with our teachers to make sure that they're able to set things up that the way, in a way that makes sense to them. But we're also going to make sure that we stand to our policy, which is to make sure that the grade really does reflect student learning and that each grade has equal merit. An A isn't worth more than a B, a C, a D. They all have the equal amount of points. And so we'll just kind of keep that conversation going with teachers. I know we had a public comment today, both online and in person, and we really value that feedback, and that we'll continue to bring back any revisions that are needed if in those conversations we learn that adjustments need to be made. That concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Patel. Moving into the Assistant Superintendent of Administrative Services, Dr. Zarina Zanepatin.
Good evening, board and trustees and Dr. McLaughlin. As you heard kind of throughout the whole board meeting, as the news is full of stories about staffing shortages in the schools, I just wanted to share a few things, right, that SLUSD is currently doing and planning to deal with this very real problem. We have been fortunate to continue to fill a number of vacancies that still remain across the district. So we're currently down to filling just 3 more vacancies in our elementary schools and 4 more in our secondary schools. We are also continuing to promote our teaching internships with our local universities. So last year we had, for example, 10 teaching interns who were going through their credentialing programs and were able to get experience of a full year of school alongside a master teacher or a support provider while they were completing their coursework. So we ended up hiring 8 of those teaching interns who from last year and place them in permanent, hard to fill positions for this year. So we plan to continue to grow those types of cohorts. And the two that we didn't hire were because they moved out of the area. But so that's what we're, some of the things that we're doing. We're also, continuously appreciative of our partnership with Cal State East Bay, and particularly the teacher education program, as we're working directly with their science, PE, and special education departments to create a pipeline directly to SLUSD. So we actually land a couple times a year in their classes and recruit right there on the spot and give them the information that they need so that they can come and join us. And so in this current staffing shortage, we have been challenged to fill the positions as soon as possible. And we also know that we have to remain competitive with the neighboring districts, especially in securing the substitutes. So we want to thank the board for earlier tonight for approving that substitute daily rate of $250 a day and the long-term rate of $275 for anyone who steps in to fill a temporary vacancy. So thank you for that. We also know that the MOU that we have with SLTA for the increased in lieu stipend, we hope that that's going to also encourage teachers to take the cash incentive rather than taking the time off if should they have to cover a class if there's a substitute shortage at their site. So we're hoping that that also will help. And then just finally, that we look forward to further supporting our substitute teachers and paraeducators by inviting them to participate in the upcoming Professional Learning Day so that they can also take advantage of how to become more familiar with how to support our students. And that concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Z. Moving into the Assistant Superintendent of Business and Operations, Dr. Kevin Collins.
So with my presentation tonight, I think I covered everything from business and operations. So I'm going to cede the remainder of my time.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Moving into the Assistant Superintendent of Information Systems, Mr. Larry Simon.
Thank you. Tech staff are still hard at work supporting teachers and ensuring their technology in the classrooms are up and running properly. With returning the 10,000 Chromebooks back that for the last 2 years are in students' hands back into the classrooms. Of course, we're bound to be some hiccups, but our team has been hard at work troubleshooting that and working with our teachers. And I'm happy to say that our rooms are in a very good place and they really have the technology they need and to teach their classrooms. Last week, we had our first tech or technology educator consultant meeting of the year, where we gather our technology expert teachers together and to work with their fellow cohort of teachers to improve tech integration in the classroom. And we met with them for the first time to sort of set the stage for the rest of the year. This year, some of their focus will be evaluating some of those platforms you heard about earlier that were procured during the pandemic to figure out what's working, what's not working, what do we need to go forward with. And also on the hardware side, the big tech investments the district has made around Prometheans and those other things that are starting to get a little aged out and figure out what does the future of that look like in San Leandro. So we really are trying to get, not that those are coming up right away, but we're really trying to get ahead of the curve on that and make sure we have something that works for our schools. And finally, our final order that we did back in June of Chromebooks came in last week, and we've started the delivery to homes of all the requests students are making. Happy to say more than half of those have already gone out, and we're hoping to be done with those very soon and get all the students who need a home device, one in their hand. And that's the end of my report. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up is board representative reports. First is Alameda County School Boards Association.
So as I stated earlier, we have a meeting via Zoom on October 20th. I hope you all registered. The speaker will be CSBA Dennis Myers on the update of the education. So.
Thank you. Next up is Eden Area Regional Occupational Program. We met on September 1st and we met to discuss 2 items. One on the superintendent's goals in public, and then the rest of our business was in closed session. So it was pretty short. And next meeting is supposed to be on the date of the ACOE Teacher of the Year, but we are going to go ahead and move that because we all want to go. So I'll keep you updated on the next reschedule. Next up is Mid-Alameda County SELPA.
So we have a meeting tomorrow to approve continuing with virtual meetings. And then our meeting after that will be September 19th via Zoom.
Thank you. City Disaster Preparedness Council.
I am still checking my email box daily and my spam filter, and we haven't got there yet. I'll let you know when I get an invite.
Thank you. All right, future items consensus. Any items for consensus, trustees? Trustee Gonzalez.
I seem to have one every meeting,
Every
so I
meeting,
apologize
every
for that. But the grading presentation, so we had that quite a while ago. And so since it's become a hot topic with teachers, I'd love to have that put into the Friday report so that I know what exactly the teachers are talking about and remind me, because I remember the presentation. You did a great job, but I just need a refresh. So thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, it appears we have consensus, so great, thank you. Next is trustee Tate.
Trustee Gonzalez asked Director Lou if she. I'd like to add to that is that possibly how it is an area. I guess just see type of grading versus this. So that's what I think. Clarity for us when people. The AR. Process is.
Okay, I'm seeing head nods across the board, so great. We'll go ahead and throw that on the consensus calendar and make it happen. Okay, additional suggestions and comments from board members, starting off with trustee Prola.
Okay, is my mic on? Yeah, it is. Okay. I just have one comment. I was thinking about it over the last couple of weeks because it seems like every time we have a board meeting, we're talking occasionally about student teachers and not having enough teachers and that kind of stuff. And I'm wondering if we have ever thought about contacting, say, Cal State or wherever, and asking them if they would put a teacher training center right here at the school district. Whereas, you know, the teachers, instead of going out to Cal State and then coming to wherever they're going to student teach, could student teach here and then have their meetings here and have a whole program here. And I don't know, it's just a thought, but I thought it might be a good
We'll
idea.
bring it up when we have our meeting.
Pardon me?
We're going to be meeting with Cal State Spade, so
Oh, okay.
we can bring
good.
that topic up to them. So
All right, good. I'm glad I thought of it
Sounds
just
good.
now when you were doing it.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Trustee Gonzalez.
Yes, so I enjoyed back to school nights. It was fun to be back in schools for back to school nights. And so I didn't get to attend as many because you have to drive from site to site versus just zooming in, but it was a great evening. And then I attended the Recreation and Parks Committee meeting for the city because our representative is vacant right now. And so I wanted to give them an update on the process. And they had a whole bunch of people there talking about pickleball. And I was very, very excited to say that we are putting in 2 pickleball courts over at the Lincoln campus. And they were thrilled. So we scored a lot of brownie points with the community for addressing a need that they hadn't even brought to us. They had just brought to the city. So I want to say thank you very much for being proactive in that. So we have pickleball at Lincoln campus. So thank you very much.
we'll wait till they hear the noise of pickleball. And then we'll see if they like it, still neighbors. So.
All right, thank you, trustee Toledo.
Thank you. The only thing that I really wanted to mention is wildfire season is coming up, right? And I guess I know that we have ventilation in our classrooms, but are we providing any masks for students just in case they need any? Because I think those are different from COVID masks, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's a different deal when you start providing masks. There's some medical, legal. I mean, it's for that. Usually if it gets that bad, we'll close school. Okay, so I mean, it's just this, I've been making this decision every year. It's, do we send them home? Are they going to stay inside? Or do we keep them at school? Keep them doing this. So when it gets to that point, we'll get there. So what we usually do is we'll have some masks available if somebody wants one, but that we don't force them on them because somebody could, it's sometimes not the best thing. So let's hope we get through it. and it doesn't come this way. But yeah, we've done this too many times, so we'll see. Last times we just closed.
Yeah.
It's much easier. So we'll see.
And that pretty much concludes. Also, just a general question for students who want to get Chromebook replacements. Would that be done in school offices? Is there a general form that they could fill out? Where is that usually done?
Yeah, right now they are just requesting their Chromebooks for the first time. And then we have a repair process. Then it's every device they get has a little link that says where you go for help and support. And it's all through an online system now. Yeah.
Got it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Trustee Sheridan.
Yeah, I too am looking forward to middle school, high school, back to school nights. I'm looking forward to tomorrow attending a parent meeting for sports at the high school to see the new quad for myself as we walk through to go meet in the library. And I too am also looking forward to the sled gala this Friday night and look forward to seeing you guys there. Was it Back to the Future is the theme?
Yeah.
So I get those pump up Nikes or something like that, right? Self zip. Yeah, there you go. All right. See you, most of you, at least Friday night.
Thank you. Trustee Tate.
So far this year has been really good. Unfortunately I missed the back to school night. But I'm looking forward to the upcoming back to school nights. And but I have been very busy in the community, meeting families and talking to students, and everything seems to be going really well. Unfortunately, I will not be at the gala this weekend. I have another engagement to go to, which will be Denim and Pearls. So I'll be doing that event. And then there's something else I was gonna say, and I can't remember, but it'll come to me later. So thank you. Oh, I know, I got it. I'm sorry. As far as applicants at my job, we had a position open. And so it's not just related to education, but we had like 6 applicants and we dwindled down to 1 because people are accepting offers as they get them. So it's definitely a job seeker's market right now. So it's not just education. So I thought about that as I was hearing people talk about it. So that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Oshinsky.
2 quick things. I too am looking forward to middle school back to school night and the sled gala.
Thank you very much. Common sentiment. I'm very much looking forward to the sled gala. Always look forward to it every year. And, we get to network with principals who are there. We get to network with each other and get to meet some new people. So that's why I always love going. Other than that, I think the next thing on my plate, CSBA Board of Directors next weekend, but not this weekend. There's going to be a lot of really good, fresh information from there that I want to bring to the board, especially with regard to finance, because as you know, as Dr. Collins presented today, things are a shifting. And so there's a lot of legislative updates that I think you all should be aware of that we're going to discuss. So I'll bring that to you as soon as possible. Otherwise, I think we can go ahead and announce that October 11th is our next board meeting. And I'll ask trustees, motion for adjournment.
I'll move to adjourn.
I'll second that.
It's been moved by Trustee Oshinsky, seconded by Trustee Sheridan. Please vote. And with a 7-0 vote, we are adjourned.